Hey guys, welcome back to the Jay's Fit Down podcast. I'm your host, Jaden, and here today I have Garret Greenlee. He's the host of the Football Analysis YouTube channel. You guys have probably heard of it, watched it. He does a lot of great work analyzing the NFL and breaking down players and film. So glad to have him on the show today. Thank you, man, for joining us.
Of course, I am ecstatic for the football season coming back. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of 4th of July is once we get past 4th of July, the season's almost here. And yeah. I'm excited to talk ball and excited for the upcoming year.
Yeah, man, me too. So what I want to talk to you about today was breakout players for the 2024 season, because there's a lot of people you can put on this list. I told you 5 guys to put on this list for the video, and I have some as well, but I want to hear yours. And I know you probably talked about some of them on your team previews, but can you just, go down the list, man? Who are some guys that you think are going to have a great year?
Yeah, so a little spoiler, the Detroit Lions team preview has not been released yet, but my breakout player for them is wide receiver Jameson Williams. And when you look at Jameson's situation, I don't know how many more situations are going to be as perfect for a player to have a true breakout year. And when you look at the Lions offense, they of course have Amon-Ra and Laporta and then Gibbs and Montgomery in the backfield. And you may think, well, there's only one football to go around. How many times is he actually going to be able to touch the football? But defenses, aside from ensuring he doesn't take the top off the defense, aren't going to be focusing on Jameson as much as the other guys. You're not going to go into a week and say, let's take away Jameson so Amon-Ra can't have 12 catches or whatever the case may be. So the point is Jameson's going to be in a very friendly situation. He's also on an offense that's called plays by Ben Johnson, who we all think will be a future head coach. And the Lions also have a good offensive line. And a good quarterback, by the way. I don't want to discredit Jared Goff either. Yeah. So when you factor in all of this, and with how many ways the Lions can get him the ball, whether it's drags, whether it's screens, whether it's reverses. I know Jameson had a big reverse touchdown run against the Saints last year, for example. I don't know how he doesn't break out this year. And I know everybody's heard Jameson Williams is going to break out, but this really is the year for him.
Yeah, that's solid, man. I like Jameson. I've always, I'm a Alabama fan, so I've always rooted for him. When he transferred to Alabama from Ohio State, and he immediately went crazy as soon as he got there. And I said, yeah, this dude's definitely going to be a beast in the NFL. There's no way he doesn't get drafted. And he went to Detroit, which I thought was a great pickup for them because they needed that other addition to that receiver room, along with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who got paid this offseason. So congrats to him on that. But yeah, I agree, man. Totally great pick. So yeah. Yeah, definitely Jameson Williams. I like him, man. He's a beast. So I think the Lions are gonna be, great, man. Do you think they make it back to the NFC Championship game?
I do. To be honest with you, they are my current pick to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Any weakness they had last year, a little thin along the interior defensive line. They pick up DJ Reader in what I thought was a very friendly deal for both sides. DJ, of course, is coming off of a torn quad, and then they, of course, had weakness at corner in the secondary. And sure, they lost CJ Gardner-Johnson, but with their first 2 picks, they selected Terrion Arnold, and they also selected Ennis Rakestraw from Missouri and traded for Carlton Davis. So, any holes they had, which weren't many to begin with, they plugged, and I think they're going to take the final step this year.
Yeah, solid. Yeah. Okay. I agree. So, so who are some other guys you think also going to have some good years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna stay on the offensive side of the ball, head down to Nashville, and I really like running back Tyjae Spears to break out. And Tyjae had a solid rookie year. Not elite, not one to specifically write home about. But the thing with Tyjae is we talk about situations and our guys going to be able to produce in situations. And obviously, when we talk about the Titans, you think about Will Levis and you think about how many times he was sacked last year, and the left tackle play at times was bad. And I mean, horrific, whether I'm not going to single the guys out. But the point is that also affects Tyjae Spears. And it's typically not like Madden where you have, like we'll say like 99 run block power and then 0 pass block power. It's if you're not a good offensive lineman, usually you're not good at either one. It's not like you're, a specialist, if you will. So this also in turn affected Tajay Spears, and he still flashed at times last year, and I want to say he had around 800 total yards, and that was in an offense that obviously featured Derrick Henry, and obviously the King had a heck of a lot more touches than what Tajay had last year. He effectively doubled what he had. And I think Tajay's touches will go up this year. And not only that, but I think he's going to break out and have a 1,000-yard total season too.
Yeah. Tajay Spears. Listen, I like Spears. I think the Titans are going to be well. I don't have them win the AFC South. Definitely not. I think I got the Texans winning that division easily. But I do think the Titans might be a little bit better than people were giving them credit for next year. Just hopefully they get hopefully Levis can continue to improve, and they got Calvin Ridley, for agency, so that should help the receiver room. So yeah, I mean, just see what happens. But Derrick Henry leaving is going to leave a huge hole though. So I'm wondering how they can, because that's production, man, that you're not going to, be able to easily replace. So.
No, for sure. And I think it's going to be, running back by committee. They also brought in Tony Pollard, but the biggest thing was they also addressed the offensive line, which obviously was critical for not just Tajay, but of course Will Levis and how he's going to produce this year and beyond. But my next player is a guy that I really liked coming out of Wisconsin a couple of years ago. It is linebacker Leo Chanel. And Leo, to me, is a guy that is kind of a throwback player in the sense of like the Levon Kirkland, the Ray Lewis, that thumper guy, that thumper backer, if you will. But he's also fast enough and agile enough to be a very good player in today's era. And I think he is in some ways kind of like the modern, prototypical NFL linebacker in today's game. And there was a pretty big reason or clear reason as to why the Saints were completely fine with letting linebacker Willie Gay walk in free agency. And I know obviously when you think of the Chiefs dynasty over the past few years, Willie Gay is not going to be the first one to come to mind. But he was, he started 50 games for him over the past 4 years. That's not a player to easily replace. You don't just, say, all right, thanks, but see ya, without having an effective replacement plan. And I think Leo is going to step up this year. I think Steve Spagnuolo will use him in a ton of different ways, use him in a lot of different packages and a lot of different looks pre-snap. And he's a guy that I think takes a big step this year.
Okay. Yeah. He's the Chiefs, man. Everybody talk about their offense, and we all know they have we know number 15 is great, and we know that Andy Reid's all the coach. We know that, right? We know their offense is like really hard to stop because nobody has done it the last 3 years now.
Yeah.
Years.
Two. Well, back to back.
Okay, back to back Super Bowls, but yes, but essentially overall, like they've just been really good. But the defense deserves a lot of credit. The Chiefs' defense, they're hard to play against. Very physical. They lost L'Jarius Sneed though to the Titans that traded him. So interested to see how they replace his production at that cornerback spot because they're gonna be young there. They're talented guys, but McDuffie, Joshua Williams. So I'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think that's a good pick, man. So. But yeah.
So. All right. Yeah. No. Next up, we're actually going to go to a team that the Chiefs have ended their season in 3 of the past 4 years, and it's Buffalo. And it's not receiver Keon Coleman, although I think he'll have a pretty solid rookie year. But it's receiver Khalil Shakir, and Khalil was drafted in the 5th round a couple of years ago out of Boise State, and Khalil actually had over 600 yards last year. And I want to say off the top of my head that he had more yards in the final 10 games of the 23 season than Stephon Diggs. So this isn't a guy that we're just projecting. He had 10 catch, 112-yard game at the end of the year. Hopefully we break out this year. No, this is a guy that towards the end of the 23 season that Josh was more and more comfortable throwing to, and he even had 3 90-plus yard games down the stretch of the season. And the only concern that I have with Khalil Shakir, and this also applies to Dalton Kincaid and hell, even Keon for that matter, is what is their actual volume going to look like? Just because you're going to have Josh Allen and James Cook each taking up a tremendous amount of carries. That's, kind of a give and take with Josh Allen because he's a perennial MVP candidate year in and year out. But I do think Khalil Shakir, as the effective number one receiver in the offense, will be close, if not go for over 1,000 yards this year.
Do you trust him to be a number one?
I wouldn't in a lot of situations, but in Buffalo specifically, with all of the weapons, everybody else that's going on, the fact that you have to always account for Josh, I do in the sense of the target share, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, man. The Bills feel such a talented team. It seems like every year yet they just can't, you know, they
Can't get over
can't
the
get
hump.
it done. So, yeah, but I guess it begs the question: will they ever turn it around? But it's like as long as the Chiefs are there, I don't believe so. So you know,
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, hey, it sucks because you have Tom Brady in your division for almost 20 years, literally almost 20 years, and then
right?
okay, we get rid of him. Let's have the effective next generation. The guy that's won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. Let's just go from one to the other. It sucks. I mean, it sucks. There's no other way to say it. But
Yeah,
uh, I mean, 9 of the past 23 Super Bowls have been either a division rival for Buffalo or a team that's eliminated 3 of the past 5 years. I mean, what do you say? Like, what do you actually say? But
hey man, it's just it sucks. Like you said, that's the only thing we can say is it sucks.
right,
So I can't even now personally. I don't feel like they will. I just don't. I hate to say it because I love the Bills, man, and I love Josh Allen, but I just don't see them going anywhere. Until like I just unless they can prove they can beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, like with any team, I don't see them going to the Super Bowl. So
for sure. And I think I mean, I don't think 24 is going to be the year for them. I think this is kind of like a retool year, and I think the Chargers are in the same position, especially once you pay the quarterbacks. I mean, you're going to have to trade away key players or release old vets, and we saw that this offseason with the Bills with both safeties with Diggs and letting Gabe Davis walk. That's part of it. I mean, that's part of building a franchise in today's era. But
yeah.
my next breakout player. He's a rookie. Only rookie on the list is Dallas Turner, a pass rusher on the Vikings. Now, Dallas like we mentioned with Jameson, he's in a very good situation. The Vikings have a very good defensive mind in Brian Flores. They run a lot of cover zero. They run a lot of insane blitz packages. They will have times where Dallas will absolutely go out into coverage, which he did during his final year at Alabama, so that's not completely foreign to him. But there will also be times where they'll have 3 guys on the left side of the line of scrimmage. They'll drop 2 of them and then have 1 guy come off the right side. But because the pre-snap look made them think that we were going to have 3 guys coming from the left, they'll have a guy completely come open free from the right. So I really think Dallas Turner is in a good position to put up north of 50 pressures in his rookie year. Remember, that's just 3 a game, which I think is possible for as good of an athlete and as good of a football player as he is. And I think he's in line for a 50 pressure and we'll say 7 sack season in his rookie year. And along with that, a potential defensive rookie of the year trophy.
Wow. Yeah, I like Dallas Turner too. Well, of course, as you know, but, he's been a great player. He was at Bama. And I think he's going to be a great player in the NFL. Actually, I actually am based in Atlanta, so I do go with the Falcons. And a lot of people here were begging for us to pick Turner at 8, end up going with Michael Penix. But
How do you feel about that?
honestly, man, letting it saturate over the last couple months now, which is crazy. Now it's just April. I'm happy that they went with the quarterback because again, Kirk Cousins, you don't. Yeah, they signed him to that 4-year deal, but you don't know. There's a chance he could get injured. There's a chance that he could retire before his deal is even up. So people were like really bashing the team for picking Penix right there. And I get in the moment, it's like we need a pass rusher. That's what this team has been lacking. I watched your Falcons preview video, and you mentioned consistently they need a pass rush in order to be successful. So, but they don't go with one there, and they pick up a quarterback. So I mean, we'll see how it goes.
I got you. And I think the biggest thing is if Penix works out and he becomes a high level player, no one's going to care. But if he doesn't, then the criticism is very, very much warranted for that pick, considering what they did just 6 weeks before and giving Kirk all that money.
Yes. So, we will see what they do. But yeah, so I believe that was your whole list, right?
It was, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so for mine, I actually do. I am going to start out this list with the Falcon, and that's going to be Drake London. I think he is going to have a big year. You know, he's been. I also could have put Kyle Pitts here, but I'm just going to go with Drake. Now that he's got a quarterback who can actually efficiently get the football to him, he hasn't had that the past couple of years with Ritter and Mariota, which I'm so happy that he now has one. I think he's gonna, and it seems like he's really enjoying having Kirk there and learning from him and things like that. And so I think Drake is going to have a big year. He had a solid year last year, but now you have a quarterback who, like I said, who can actually efficiently get him the football. He's going to have a good season. So
I couldn't agree more, and I think Drake London's floor this year is at minimum 1,000 yards. I mean, assuming he plays all 17 games, of course, but
yeah,
if he does play all 17 games, I would be pretty surprised if he's not around 1,200 yards. I mean, you have to remember that he's put up back-to-back 850-yard seasons with poor quarterback play.
yes,
So now
yes.
that he has a Pro Bowl level player who is effectively playing for his job because of Michael Penix being there not every week, but every quarter of the year, if you will. I think there's also going to be a fire in Kirk, which in turn will benefit Drake.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. So it's going to definitely be interesting to see how that plays out. But like I said, I got Drake having a big year in 2024. Next player up on the list for me is Roma Dunze. So I am going to go with the rookie here on my list. Listen, that Chicago offense, not Caleb Williams. If he plays to what he's poised to play at, and he meets these standards that he's being held to. If we're what he thinks he is, I think Rome's gonna have a big year. As a rookie receiver, so in that offense. Plus, you gotta understand, like a lot of defense are gonna be putting their attention on DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen also in that offense. So now I think Rome is going to get a lot of looks, and he's going to be open. And we know we can do it to football. We saw it at Washington. So I got Rome Dunsi there also.
Yeah, so to be honest, that's a really interesting standpoint. I'm a little lower on Rome just because of DJ and because of Keenan. Now, I don't think Rome's going to be like a bust or anything like that. If you had to ask me right now if I think Rome's going to finish top 2 or 3 in receiving yards this year for rookies, I would say probably not. And to be honest, I think there's a decent chance that just from a sheer volume standpoint, that Ladd McConkey like outpaces Rome this year, just because of like Ladd is. I mean that receiving core is bad.
Yeah.
It's Quentin Johnston, tight ends Will Dissly, backup tight ends Hayden Hurst. It is Josh Palmer. I'm going to say is out there. Maybe not Josh Palmer, but you get the point.
Yeah.
It's not DJ and Keenan. So that's why I'm a little lower on Rome, but I still think he's going to be a solid player this year for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and like you said, Chargers receiver. And I still don't understand like why. Like, I mean, I understand Keenan and Mike had their injury issues, but when they are out there, they're very fantastic football players, and they let them. They got rid of them. I don't know, like they're not doing Justin Herbert any solids here, man. I don't know the Chargers. I really, I'm interested. It makes me think they're going to lean a lot towards the run. So I don't know, maybe, but we'll see.
No, they absolutely will. They absolutely will, especially at the start of the Harbaugh era. Now, I have a little bit of a bold take. I think they are kind of planning a year out because that tight end room is, to me, the worst in football with Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst as your top 2 tight ends entering the year. But there's obviously Jim wants to, and for good reason, by the way. They just won the national championship. This isn't like a 6-7 college football coach coming to the NFL. They have a really, really good tight end prospect this year that'll probably be a mid-first round selection in Colston Loveland. And I absolutely love his game. I think he is very good. He'll be a 21-year-old rookie in 2025. I think the long-term play is to draft Colston next year. That is one kind of bold take I do have prior to the season starting.
Okay, yeah, solid, man. Very solid. So, but yeah, like I said, I think I have Rome having a good year for the Bears. I think in general the Bears are going to have Texans like run. That's just what I think. Rookie quarterback and like so like now I mean, is Caleb going to come in and play like CJ did his first year? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But that should be interesting to see. So my next player up on the list for me for my breakout players of 2024. Let's see. I'm sure I had this list right. Oh, I didn't mean to. So my next player is going to be now. This is also I know I have like a lot of receivers here, but this guy is Jahan Dotson from the Commanders. I think he's going to have a big year. Jane Daniels is really good quarterback, and the Commanders I think are gonna. I mean, Terry's going to get his touches, of course, but I think Dotson's going to slide into that number two, or that number two. I think he's very capable of having 1,000 yards. And that's if the offensive line plays well and everything, and they give Daniels a chance to pass the ball. I think he's going to get a lot of good opportunities. So I got him right there.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing with Jahan is, I mean, I've been vocal before. That whole process of selecting him, let's trade out of 11 to move back 5 spots, give the Saints Chris Olave, and then let's draft an inferior receiver. That whole process 2 years ago frustrated me. I hope Jahan breaks out this year. I really do. I'm a little lower on him. I mean, but the thing is in that offense, I mean, Austin Eckler is not the player he was 4 or 5 years ago. He's not. But I really hope that with the volume, I really hope that you get close to 1,000 yards. I mean, he should be. There's no reason he has a good quarterback now. He is in a solid situation, and there's no reason for him other than if he doesn't have the ability for him not to be 800, 900,000 yard player this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next player up on my breakout list is Akeem Ikwanu from the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, I like that.
At O line, now the Panthers just were a train wreck last year, as we all know. But he's one of those guys where it's like they if they lean towards a running offense, like I think he's see the problem was like when they went spread with Frank Reich last year and they were trying to have Bryce Young sit back, it just that no that didn't work. Akeem is not that type of guy. I think he is more of a better run blocker than pass protector, but I do believe that this year under Dave Canales, former Bucks OC, now head coach of the Panthers, I think he's going to have a great season. So
I like Icky a lot, and I liked him a lot coming out of North Carolina State. But what frustrated me with not just Icky last year, but the whole line, and this also dates back to 2022 before Reich was fired during his time in Indy. But it was for whatever reason during his final year in Indy and his 11-game stint with Carolina was for whatever reason the offensive lines just didn't play to the levels they did the year prior. And the player that we saw on the field for Ikwanu in 23 was not the same player in 22. And I can't imagine that it was because he slouched the entire offseason and that he was just not working out or doing anything like that. And it had to be from a technique standpoint. It had to be from just whatever they were drilling in, because there was a night and day difference between Frank Reich's 11-game stint and after he was fired. I mean, they averaged 30 more rushing yards per game after he was fired, and that's not coincidental. If it's one game, maybe. But the fact that it was 6 games, which is close to half a season, and you have over 30 more rushing yards per game as a team, clearly there's something there. So I'm with you. I do like Ikwanu entering 24.
Yeah. I think he's going to be one of the better offensive linemen in the NFL next year because, like I say, that team just needs it.
Stability.
Yeah, stability. I mean, and they didn't have that last year. Bryce, he didn't play good, but he was in the best situation. And you did in your Carolina video, you mentioned that, so it just wasn't a great situation for the Panthers. Do you think they're gonna be better? I mean, do you have them? What's like being better next year? I mean, what's your kind of outlook for them? next year.
So I mean the thing is the record is still going to be bad. If
Yeah,
you think they're going to go from 2-15 to 10-7, I have some unfortunate news for you. But but
Panthers fans out there.
yeah, but the thing is though is it's like from a play standpoint, I can't imagine it gets worse. Like I don't think there's any way it possibly can, and I hope they don't take that as a challenge because what we saw last year was awful. I mean, but credit to them, and I know there's owners out there that aren't willing to spend, and I know that David Tepper he does a lot of David Tepper things, and I'm not
Mhm.
condoning any of that, but I respect the willingness to go out and spend money to throw money at an active problem, which they did by giving Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis a combined $150 million, so that Bryce does not have to have the pressure in his face 24/7 like he did last year. So I at least credit where that's due right there, but. I can't imagine the play gets worse. Now, from a win standpoint, I think they'll be anywhere from like 4-7 this year. But seven would be phenomenal for them. Let's just call that what it is. A 7-10 season for the Panthers would be great. I still think they'll be around 4-13, 5-12, but the good news is they have their first round pick next year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think now I think Atlanta's that's their division to lose. So I have them winning the South. A little biased there, but even just from a non-biased perspective, I don't see anybody really, unless the Bucks just come out and have a great year. But really, I think it's the NFC South is Atlanta's in 2024. So I believe I did four. Was that four players? I
That was
think
four. That was
yes.
four.
So
Yep, three receivers and Nicky.
yes. So my last player here. Now this is somebody that hasn't really done much, but I think he's gonna have a great year, and that's Jermaine Johnson from the Jets. Now he has production wise a lot of sacks or anything in the past couple of years, but I think now this year I think this is the year that he breaks out and that he has a bounce back season for that defense. So he's my last guy here on this list.
No, I like Jermaine a lot, and I'm eager to see in both Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbricht's defense how he's going to play this year. Again, what I often look for in a breakout player, it's not just receiver or quarterback, having a good offensive line or having a good quarterback like Drake London, for example, but for any player, you have to look at the situation.
Yeah,
And Jermaine's in a great situation. He has a elite defensive tackle in the interior in Quentin Williams. They have an elite secondary, led, of course, by the now two-time first-team All-Pro Sauce Gardner. They have elite linebacking play. The defense is absolutely loaded. Now, the big thing for Jermaine is follow me on this, but they're also going to have Aaron Rodgers stay healthy and have the offense be competent, which I more than believe they will be, so that the opposing offenses can get into those passing situations, so that Jermaine can effectively just pin the ears back and just get after the quarterback. And I think he will this year, and I like that pick a lot. I think he's a very good candidate for a double-digit sack season this year.
yeah, yeah. The Jets need him to have a good season, and so offensively, Aaron Rodgers, everybody I do think the Jets will be back in the running this year. That he'll be back healthy despite his offseason activities and renditions that he always Aaron Rodgers does every year. But I mean, hey, if he's there, I mean, he's when it's time to get down to business, so he's there. So I mean, no matter what. So I guess that's what's important in the end, right? So. But yeah. Other than that, man, yeah, those are my players. And for my breakout list, I enjoy yours as well. You had a lot of great players on there. Also, and like I said, that's why I wanted to have you on because you, unlike a lot of analysts, you do actually, you break down these players and you look at their film and you also look at their situation too. Like you said, it's not just stats or if it's a quarterback, like is he getting protected? You're looking at their situation. How is how are the coaches using them? Has any other players left or came in that could help boost his production, potentially. So yeah.
I appreciate you having me on anytime.
Yes, sir. So yeah, you guys can catch Garret on the Football Analysis YouTube channel. Like I said, he does great content on there. I watch him all the time. Every time he
I
posts,
appreciate it.
I told you, man, before we got on, I really like your content. So yeah, man, keep it up and keep doing it. And yeah, like I said, you're welcome, man. But we appreciate you coming on the show. So yes, sir. But yeah, you guys check him out there, and you can check us out here on YouTube, Jace With Down, and we will see you next time. All right.